Great news! One guy with a marker just made the global warming debate completely obsolete. Unfortunately, this very popular internet video is based on the fallacy of the excluded middle. Stay tuned while this argument is deconstructed.
Hi, I'm Ira Glickstein, and this is the guy with the marker. Now what he's done is he's divided the entire global warming controversy into two extreme dichotomies. The first, GCC, which is global climate change, is either totally and absolutely false, there's no global climate change, or it's true to the extent of being catastrophic, the worst possible global climate change you can think of in this row here. Now in terms of the columns, similarly they are extreme dichotomies. Column A says yes, we're going to take whatever action is necessary, no matter how costly, to stop global warming in its tracks. In the second column, we take absolutely no action at all. Now, so far in the video, he's filled in three of the boxes. This box here is very costly because we spent a lot of money to stop global warming, but it was false. And so it resulted, he says, in a global depression. This box here, global warming is false, we took no action at all, it's a happy face. The third box, global warming is true, it's catastrophic. We've taken the proper action, we've stopped it, so we get a happy face. And I'm going to let him fill in this last box because it's the most scary box of this video.
How about this scenario over here, where the doomsayers turned out to be right and we didn't take action? Now, since we granted the extreme up here, we should grant the extreme down here. And in that case, it gets kind of ugly. Because we've got economic, political, social, environmental, and public health catastrophes.
It's a catastrophe.
On a global scale. This is your
Global
worst case
catastrophe.
scenario. This is the sea level rising 10, 20 feet, entire coastal countries disappearing, hundreds of millions of people.
Okay, you get the idea. Now we're going to go on and see if there might be any logical faults in this argument.
Let's take a closer, more realistic look at his four boxes. The first box, global depression, is included to make it appear he's being fair to skeptics. He assumes that taking action to stop GCC will be so costly that if it turns out to have been unnecessary, the result will be a global depression. Certainly, maximum environmental spending will damage the worldwide economy, but I doubt that type of spending alone will trigger a global depression. When we get to box number 3, we'll see that he really doesn't think so either. Box number 2 has a smiley face. GCC is false, we take no action, so all is well. But is it? Does his GCC include natural processes and cycles that have caused global warming and cooling, floods and droughts, violent storms and blessed rain prior to the advent of humans on Earth and before we humans had the capacity to affect the climate? Apparently not, else GCC could not be totally false. Therefore, by GCC, he is referring only to the human-caused variety, totally ignoring the evidence from the geological ice core and historical records of natural global climate change and some catastrophes. Box number 3 has a smiley face. This box is totally inconsistent with box number 1. If action to stop human-caused global warming is so costly as to cause a global depression in the first box, would it not also cause such a global depression in this box? So why the happy face? Realistically, even if we in the US and other nations in the developed world take maximum action to reduce our CO2 emissions, it's totally unrealistic to expect those in the developing world to do the same. Indeed, China, India, and other countries will continue to build power plants, nearly all of them coal-fired. CO2 levels are bound to increase rapidly for at least the coming several decades, no matter what we in the developed world do. Let's get to his fourth box. Catastrophes. This box is filled with terrible consequences. It's intended to scare us into taking maximum action. He assumes the worst-case global warming of several degrees predicted by climate models, despite the failure of those models to predict the past 17 years of absolutely no net warming. The most realistic prediction is continued moderate change in global temperatures, mostly natural, but some small part human-caused. As standards of living continue to improve worldwide, populations will stabilize, which will allow reasonable action to be taken to moderate CO2 emissions. And human civilization will adapt to inevitable natural and human-caused global climate change, as we have throughout history. So let us summarize. He has absolute dichotomies, all or nothing, Camelot or catastrophe. He's being very emotional. Emotional arguments are powerful in political rhetoric, but they're very dangerous in science. He has hidden assumptions. He assumes that catastrophic GCC is perfectly true or absolutely false, that action is totally yes, maximum action, or totally no, absolutely no action. This is called the well-known fallacy of the excluded middle, and it almost always leads to illogical conclusions. Totally illogical. The real world is mostly shades of gray. Let's review some of his failures of logic. He assumes that human-caused climate change is the only type, totally ignoring natural global climate change, which is way, way larger. And that's based on the geological record, the ice ages, and the history of humans on Earth prior to the time that we were capable of changing the climate. His box number 3 totally contradicts box number 1. He really doesn't think that maximum spending will cause a global depression. And his predictions of catastrophe are based on climate models that have overestimated carbon dioxide-caused warming by 400% since 1979, when good worldwide satellite data for climate became available. The climate models have failed to predict the 17-year pause in net global warming since 1997. So the predictions of catastrophe are way over the top. Thank you for watching my little talk about one guy with a marker, where his arguments are deconstructed. On this page, you'll see a number of internet links. Hope you follow some of them. And thank you so much for listening to the talk.